Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you live at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference. And Mario Lopez is with me. He's the president of the Hispanic Leadership Fund. HispanicLeadershipFund.org is the website.
Absolutely.
And
Thank
it's a conservative Hispanic Leadership Fund.
Of course.
Okay. And indeed. Of course, you're at CPAC. I'm curious your thoughts on well, first of all, actually, let me just generalize this massively, if I may. Most of the Latin American countries, Central America, South America, are moving to the left, as it were. They're expanding things like Social Security, expanding national health care programs. Argentina aggressively encouraging worker-owned cooperatives, things that would, in the United States, be perceived as to the left. In Brazil famously had a left, and we don't have to go to the fringes. I'm not talking about Castro and Chavez. And Mexico, has been, now has a national health care program. Are American Hispanics connected to that? Is there something? Does that come out of a reaction to the hard right stuff that was happening in the 70s and 80s, the El Salvadoran death squads and whatnot, or is that coming out of the Catholic ethos of I am my brother's keeper, or what do you attribute that to? And do you see that happening in the Hispanic community in the United States, or do you think that the Hispanic community in the United States is becoming more Reaganish or conservative? This is a huge question, I realize. But
yeah, and I can't say that I'm an expert in policy in all the different Latin American countries, but I think your point's interesting to me in this sense. I think that when we talk about immigration, I think that all immigrants, but in this particular case, Hispanic immigrants, come here fleeing that. I mean, we see the type of corruption that these big overbearing governments foster in their native countries. In a lot of cases, it's a big union merger with big government, if you will, that has a lot of these restrictive labor and business policies. People don't have the freedom and opportunity that they do here, and so they come in search of that freedom and opportunity. And I think that
so you see it as people moving away from pain rather than moving toward pleasure. They're not coming here because somebody is going to offer them a job here that pays more money.
Well, I don't know if they're being offered a job. I mean, I think some people are, but I think
broadly,
working
if I think couldn't find a job.
But broadly, but that's different. Finding a job is different than being offered a job, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
technically, I guess. Okay. So Marco Rubio yesterday stripped immigration completely out of his speech. He has had 2 or 3 different positions on this over the last month or two. It seems like the conservative Hispanic perspective on immigration, I mean, the progressive Hispanic position on immigration has been largely tracking that of the president, which is, something close to what Reagan did, I guess, without just a blanket amnesty. But let's figure out a way to integrate people who are here into American society, give them citizenship, end of the line, all that kind of stuff. But, what is the conservative Hispanic position on this?
Well, what we've been talking about consistently is reforming the legal immigration process.
What does that mean?
Because, I was amazed and really saddened to discover that if you don't have a special family or employee sponsorship, it takes between 6 to 20 years to immigrate legally to the United States.
Yeah.
That is big government at its worst. And
well, is it, or is it just a country protecting itself from or protecting its labor market from being drowned in cheap labor?
No, because we have
Canada
have
won't let me in. I mean, I'm not Hispanic, but if I were to try to move to Canada, they would say, unless you're bringing $500,000 into our country and you're going to start a business, with it, and you're going to hire at least 2 people and you're under 50, and they got all these restrictions. You can't move to any European country. I mean, I just to give a speech in Australia, I had to go through a 2-week process of getting a work permit.
Well, and that's big government.
And
so
arguably, but it's also Australia saying Australia's for Australians.
Sure, but here's the thing. I believe in American exceptionalism, and one of the main pillars of that American exceptionalism has been the fact that we're the greatest country in the history of mankind, and we should always remain that. And if we are that, then we should understand that and not be offended by the fact that people actually do want to come to live in the greatest country in the history of the world.
If you're arguing that Canada, Australia are wrong to have highly restrictive immigration policies, are you suggesting that anybody who wants to come to the United States should come and get relatively quick citizenship?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think that's the conservative position.
No, absolutely not. And in fact, one of the things that we've favored as an organization, we favored a more stringent citizenship policy, a more stringent citizenship exam, for example. We want more detailed questions about the Constitution, about the Bill of Rights, about the Declaration of Independence. We want more immigrants who are educated in what it means to be an American and what those principles are, so that they turn into educated voters and citizens, for example.
Yeah, although that may sound to a lot of people like, well, okay, who's going to write the test, you or me? Because if I wrote the test, it might be a very different test than if you wrote the test.
Probably not.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, I mean, that could be an interesting
what does general welfare
conversation
mean in the preamble and in Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution? I mean, we could use Hamilton's definition that it's very, very broad, that it means pretty much anything the Congress defines it to mean, or we could use Scalia's definition that it's very narrow. But that's splitting hairs. I'm hearing two messages from you. One is that countries that are protecting their borders, that are saying to immigrants or would-be immigrants, to immigration in general, that those countries are big government, and then at the same time that we should be letting more immigrants in.
I don't know about more, but what I'm saying is that
we should be more restrictive. Excuse me. We should be more big government.
Is that the legal immigration process is a bureaucratic Byzantine nightmare,
and
that is a problem.
Right.
Because you have people who have been.
But you don't fix it by just making a test harder.
No. I was talking about that just one component that we've argued that we've been proponents for as an organization. Now, in terms of the legal immigration process, it shouldn't take 6 to 20 years to immigrate legally to the United States. We have
why not
hundreds of thousands and millions of applications that are in backlog. We have people who have been trying to bring their spouses in for years and years and years. People who they're married to, and they live in another country, and they can't come here. They can't see their wife or husband.
Oh, I've seen this firsthand in my own family. I mean, my brother-in-law is married to a woman from another country. One of my nieces, married a fellow here who was an illegal immigrant from Mexico. He got busted. They're living in Mexico right now. I mean, she can't even live in her own country, and they got kids. It's insane. I mean, ICE is like hauling them off. We've got to do something about it. But what do we do?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, and as a student of conservatism, I learned Milton Friedman taught me that the first violation of the rule of law is making the law very difficult to follow. And that's essentially what we've done. So we're for border security. We're for reasonable enforcement measures. We're for all of that. But all of that will go for naught unless you have a legal immigration system that works.
Right. So what should my niece's husband do? He was here. He'd been here in the United States for like 10 years, illegally, got busted. He was married. He had a family. He had a business. And he got busted, got thrown out of the country. I mean, he could have gone to jail.
Well, I think that
how do they get back?
I think that there should be a reasonable way and a just way for him to pay the penalties for violating the law. But look, that can't be the fact that this is the only civil offense that we're never ever going to have a solution for, that people can actually pay their way, not pay as in just monetarily,
right.
but
work their way through.
Resolve,
yeah.
I mean, we have that for every other civil penalty, and that's what we should have, I think.
But it sounds like you don't have a 10-point plan.
Well, I mean, I don't have a magic wand, but I would say that, generally speaking, for those out there, the legal immigration process has to be fixed.
Hang on just a second. It's Mario Lopez, HispanicLeadershipFund.org. You can read all about it. Mario, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Great conversation.